All right, so we have this cube that just sort of represents as a placeholder for the bigger picture. So what we're going to do now is gray box this out. And what we want to do when you're gray boxing is you want to capture the bigger forms and then work your way down to the smaller forms. So the biggest shape that I normally look at is I say, okay, well, I have this ground that this thing is sitting on. So let's go ahead and we'll do a couple things. Like, so here's our cube. And I'm just going to go into its material properties here. And this cube looks like it's missing its material properties. Let's see, which is fine. We can add another material to this cube. Yours might already have one on there, but I'm going to go ahead and click on new. And I'm going to bring this alpha down. And I'm going to hit Z and then go to material preview. And what you'll see now is we can kind of see through this. Another thing I like to do is under the this show overlays is you could click on this and under viewport overlays here, just turn on wireframe for now. You can see here that we now have that. Also, it looks like, are we using EV? Yeah, we're using EVs here. Let's see how Workbench looks. Yeah, I don't know if we can access the transparency if we're using Workbench. Yeah, let's turn EV back on. Yeah, let's like this back again. Double check that. Yeah, we might have to turn that on. So EV is, these are the different renderers. And so that looks pretty good. Let's maybe bring this in just a little bit more. All right, so what I want to do is I want to start blocking out these shapes. So let's start off with, we're going to really do a lot of duplicating the same cube and then using the S for scale key, and we're just going to go work our way up to all the major forms. Okay, and then we'll do some light editing, and then we'll drill down in the next video into more of the finer details. All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and create another cube. So I'm going to hit Shift A. I'm going to go to Mesh and then Cube. And you should be able to see it down at the bottom. And I'm going to hit S as in Sam and then Z like zebra. And Z will lock it in on the Z axis. And if you're ever unsure what axis you're in, it'll show you here Z, Y, and X. So what I'm going to do is hit S again, and then I'm going to hit Y and just scale this out a little bit this way, and then S, and then X and scale it out this way. So if you hit S closer, and then you hit X, you can get a little bit closer this way. All right, so there we have it. And if you open this up, or you hit N as in Nancy, you can bring this out, and you can see here is our scale for X and Y and Z. So let's say we want to really make sure that this is, you know, the same. We could do 4.5 for each one of these, and then for the Z-axis we could do 0.15 or something. Now this is going to have to go up a lot higher because you can see how high the ridge is here, but again, we're just kind of gray boxing. This is a placeholder, and honestly maybe we should just do that all together. Let's do a 1 or maybe 0.5. Let's try 0.5, and that looks good for now. Then I'm going to hit G for movement, and then Z, and then just kind of move it above the, let's hit Y here. Just pull this up above. So it's sitting right on our thing there. All right. So the next major thing I want to do is create this deck. So you can see that the deck is inset quite a bit. So I'm going to hit Shift and D to duplicate that. Let's see. And then I'm going to, and you can see it made a second copy of that cube. So here's cube 1, cube 2, and we can actually hide this cube for the moment. And here's cube 2, and I'm just going to bring this up. And let's go ahead and on the, instead of X and Y 4.5 for the scale, let's do like 4 and 4. And again, it's quite a bit more inset than that, but let's try 3.8 and 3.8. We're just trying to train our eye to see these shapes, right? And that's why you don't want to go too far into the details too soon, because you might say, oh, you know what, I need to make this a 5 and a 5 to get the shape out a little bit better. So this whole chunk here, this big thing, represents all the way from the base of this stick up to the top here. So the next major shape I want to get is this little house shape, this little box here that's inset, and it's inset less here than it is in the front where the stairs come down, right? And again, same thing here, right? I'm starting to see like, wait a second, this front part where this rock is bigger than the side. So let's go ahead and select this and hit Shift and D. And I'm just going to hit G to move and then Z and just move it up so it sits right on the top. And now let's take this down to maybe 3.5 by 3.5. And remember what I mentioned, like that is not enough space between this little deck area and then this part of the house. So let's go ahead and make the x-axis, which is the side here, maybe a 3. And then honestly, it looks like the house is sitting right at the end of the deck. So we could probably move this all the way back here. And that'll give us the space we need there. And then on the side, where the y-axis is, let's make that a 3.2. And we could also eyeball it too, but that gives us a little bit more space. Not enough space, so let's maybe do this one at 3. And then let's do 2.5 for this one. And we're going to have to manually adjust a lot of this soon. Because again, this is probably way too thick here, but we're getting the shape. Same thing here. I don't know yet until I get the actual size reference, which we'll do in the next video, of the model, the character model, and how big I should make these doors and stuff. So I'm just trying to introduce you to Blender and how to sort of manipulate the cubes and the spaces and, you know, just sort of an introduction to the interface. So how do I bring this up? Because when I hit G and Z, it sort of brings it up from the center, right? Or S and Z, it scales it from the center. Well, there's a couple ways of doing this. I can move the pivot point, which is this part here, to the base of this model, right? Another way of doing it is I can manipulate the model itself, so I could grab this top face and I can pull it all the way up till it's somewhere around here. So let's go ahead and go to Object and then Edit Mode. And then I'm going to go ahead and click the number, select the number 3, or click on the face option here and select that top face. And then I want to grab my Move tool and move it all the way up like this. Like that. And now we've got our step here, or we've got our little dirt landmass here. We've got our step here, this thing here. You know, again, might need a little bit more love there. And then we've got the beginnings of what our house is here. The next thing I'd like to do is add in this front porch and this house that's here, right? So one way I can make sure that my porch lines up, this top porch where this extra house part is sitting, I can make sure that lines up, is I could just duplicate this. Let's go to Object Mode, select this base, and then hit Shift and D, and then G and Z, and then just pull this up so it's somewhere in the center here. And what I might do, well, we need to make sure that it looks like it is not centered. It looks like it is leaning, and this is what you're training your eye for, is this post here. It looks like that house is just against the side of this house here. Like this house is, this top cottage part of the house is actually sitting on the side here. So there's a little bit of a space here, and then that's what's sitting up here. So what I'm going to do is hit Tab, and actually let's set that up. So let's go to Edit and then Preferences here, and then under Key Map, make sure Tab for Pi menu is on. And what this is going to do is when I hit the Tab key, it's going to give me Edit Mode, Object Mode, so pretty much anything that's in here. So I'm going to click on Edit Mode here. I'm going to select this side face, and I'm going to bring this in till about halfway. Again, just training my eye, eyeballing it, trying to see those shapes. And the same thing I said before, the side of this post here looks like it goes, actually it goes all the way out to, so this is farther than the house. So it's coming out here. And so that should just line up with this, which is fine. We can always manipulate that later. And then let's just bring this down and give it, try to make it, again, eyeball the thickness that's there. And then we need to have another one that's sort of wrapping around the building this way. So what I'm going to do is hit Tab and go to Object Mode. Hit Shift D on this. Hit S to scale, and then Z, and then scale that down. Move it up this way. And again, I just want to scale it so it's roughly the same size. So let's hit S to scale that out. And then S and then Z. So now we have a little bit of a, let's scale that out just a little bit more. We've got this, and then we've got this wood piece here. Now we haven't done the post yet, which is holding up here. And then this post that's back here, that's holding it up that way. And then, so we need to put another post here. It looks like it's a bad concepting there. But that's nothing that we can't fix. So that's something else we have to figure out too, is like sometimes you have to manipulate the concept itself. All right, so let's go ahead and for the time being, let's select all of these pieces and then hit Control and J. And what that does is that merges it into one building. And let's name this house _01 or beach house. It's up to you. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure that under item here that these transforms where our scale is all messed up is zeroed out. So I'm going to hit Control A and then do all transforms. So that's zeroed out. And this makes sure that it's at size 111 in the scene. So let's do File and then Export FBX. And I just want to make sure on my desktop I go to the alias we created yesterday, which is environment, and I'm just going to name this house. Or let's name it beach house _01, and then export FBX, and then let's pause the video and see how it looks in Unreal. All right, here we are in Unreal. I'm going to hit import, and then let's see. Under static mesh here, it says auto detect mesh type, bake mesh. Let's see what else we got. Import static mesh. Combine static meshes. So we actually want to have this on where it says combine static meshes. And that way we don't have to go through that step again where we merge it all together, which we're going to undo when we go back into Blender in a second. I'm going to go ahead and hit import here. And let's go inside of here and see, here's our beach house. So if I drag this in, you could see we're getting pretty close. And I can actually, to be honest with you, remove my untitled here. I don't want to delete it. I just want to remove it from my scene. And I can place this here. And then what I can do is I'm going to press play here. And might have to turn my player start. And I can go in here and see, like, okay. Let's see if we could just, it's got a simple collision on there. That's why we can't jump on it. But we can start to see the size. That looks pretty good. I think this video is getting pretty long. What we'll do in the next videos, we'll come in there and we'll start to create things like the post, the roof, and just more basic GrayBoxing. And we're also going to bring in the model itself so that we could use it as a site reference.